You are 25. Just laying the blanket and doing nothing. And this 8 years old Serbian prodigy has set a new world record. Leonid Ivanovik has become the youngest child to beat a Grandmaster in a serious classical tournament. And that respected sacrificial lamb was Bulgarian Grandmaster Milko Popchev. So let's dive into the game and see how it happened. Hello you guys, so welcome to my analysis board. And this historical matchup was played in Serbia round 2 of the tournament, written here, and this is you guys to pronounce. So Grandmaster Popchev has a white piece and our 8 years old Ivanovic has a black pieces. And white opens with English opening c4, which is a good choice because kids know theory these days, and why not play less theory line. And our 8 years old Ivanovic replied with knight to f6, which is Anglo-Indian defense and it is quite flexible. Let's see how the game goes, and white plays knight to c3, which controls e4 and d5 square. From here this line can transpose into anything. It can be 2 knights, it can be 4 knights. But Ivanovic shows fighting spirit and plays g6, which leads to a sharp line. Here white can take central space with either d4 or e4, but here Popchev plays g3, so going for the fianchetto. Here our little guy plays c5, so not allowing d4. And white put the sniper on g2 and black did the same and put the sniper on g7. Here white plays e3, which have two purposes. First is support the pawn push d4, and secondly it gives the square to the knight. So black castles and white plays knight g to e2, so supporting d4 and preparing castles. So black develops the knight on c6 and white castles. Black plays d6, so opening the scope of a bishop, and white strikes with d4. So we have takes and Ivanovic puts the bishop on f5. Now white plays h3 preparing g4, and here black stops it with h5. So position is quite equal, and here white develops his last minor piece on e3, and here queen to d7 by black attacking h3. So king to h2 defending it, and here black plays rook a to c8, so putting the rook on the c file. c4 pawn can become a target, so white supports it with d3. Here black should play d5, not allowing white to play d5 himself. Because if he takes, you will have knight to b4 to take back the pawn. But here our little guy plays rook f to d8, which allows white to play d5. And knight goes to e5, and there is a free pawn on a7, but white chooses knight to d4. And now black plays knight to d3, aiming to shift it on c5, blocking bishop's path. And white plays queen to d2, so connecting rooks and making a battery. Knight to c5 by black, and here knight takes bishop and queen takes knight. Now rook after d1, so getting out of any trickery in the diagonal, and now king to s7, so not allowing bishop to h6. Now rook f to e8, extending the e7 pawn, and rook to e8 by black. And now white plays bishop to d4, and here black offers the trade. White plays b4 and knight goes to a6, and now a trap, knight to e4. If you take c4, you will face knight takes d6 and winning an exchange. Our guy saw it and plays knight to f6, and queen goes to d2, pinning it. This is the fun part of the match because here black plays king to f8, which is a bad move. Because if he takes the knight, queen to f8 will be checkmate, and secondly white just can push on the queen side. But white plays bishop to f1, and he saw his mistake and plays king to g8. So king to f8 and g8, that's how you beat a GM. So we have trades of the knight, and queen goes to d2. Now white shifts his trash a6 knight via b8 to d7 to e5. White last move rook to e1 is a mistake due to a fork on f3, so either you're losing a pawn or an exchange. And white chooses a pawn, so bishop to g2 and rook takes pawn. Now black has a winning advantage, and let's see how he converts it. So first he trades off the rook, then he saved his knight, and then he pushed the pawn and make a weakness in a white's camp. Now in rest of these moves, both players tries to find a better square for their pieces till this pawn push. So after pawn takes and bishop to e3, things are going to get real messy after the pawn push e5. Now you can either en-passant or take the pawn with the rook, and he decides to take the pawn with the rook. And now black plays e4 and white has a winning position if he plays g6, but he first takes and then he plays g6, which is actually not winning, it's losing. Due to the square which queens now have, which is f5. And now you no longer have g7, queen to g5 checkmating idea. But g7 anyway and king goes to e7, and keep in mind rook to h8 doesn't work because of queen to e5 check. So rook to g4 and rook to g8 and rook to g5. And here white tried almost everything to save his position, and he even sacrificed his rook with a tactic to win the black rook. But it was never enough. And in this process white lost both of his pawns. And here few checks given by the both side, and after queen to b5 white resigned the game. So this was a marvelous victory of our young man. So if you like the video, do help us reach 1k subscribers. So have an excellent health and see you soon all.